A not super original short I created a while ago spurred an interesting debate about the hand size of ex-boxing star from Russia, Nikolay Valuev. Here's the short. The guy is a giant in every sense of the word, from his huge stature to the size of his head, and now the size of his stomach apparently. Kidding. Just kidding. What some rightly noticed is that his hands don't look as big relative to his overall size, let alone relative to Denis's hands. And this is what I'm here to investigate. Is this a giant with baby hands or not? We might as well start from the very picture I just showed you. That was in the short. I'll just lighten it up a bit. You'll see, I'm not going to distort the image. If we go to image adjustments, shadow highlights. Okay, that's done. There's just one thing to notice here. Valuev turned his hand outwards, meaning that we see it at an angle, meaning that the part that is furthest away looks smaller than it actually is. This is how perspective works. In contrast, Denis's right hand is facing the camera at no angle. It is orthogonal, so to say, to the camera. That means we see its full width. Let's look at more pictures. What may be a little confusing to some people is if they compare the hand size of Valuev relative to his head. He has an enormous head, even compared to Denis, whose head is not small either. So compared to that, his hands don't look all that impressive. But that's not objective judgment. It just looks that way. He doesn't have small hands at all, and I think the next few pictures will prove it unequivocally. Okay, now, I know how earlier I explained about perspective, camera angle, and here we have the exact same situation, but we can clearly see that even without all that, the hand of Valuev is pretty big, even relative to his head. Yes, this time. He looks just about to doze off. Maybe it was a long press conference, which gives me all the more reason to think that he's not doing anything abnormal with his hand. This is just how big it actually is, what it looks like. And I want you to think about this. Compare Valuev's hand to the head of this other boxer, which is facing the camera, no angle. It looks to me that he can palm his head just like those above 7-footers can easily palm a basketball. Not just Shaquille O'Neal, but Mamadou, Dwight Howard, Taco Fall. So that's that. But speaking of basketballs, here's one with a basketball. If this is a standard ball, we'll have a standard to measure his hand with other 7-foot basketballers. Firstly, I think he can palm that thing. He can palm the ball, which is not that impressive. It's almost a given with 7-footers. So I think he can palm the ball, but his fingers don't look all that long. Yeah, the hand is still massive, but the fingers are really not that long. Let's see what other 7-footers can do with the basketball. Shaq. The ball looks lost in his hands. No wonder he wasn't a good shooter. It's like he's trying to shoot a tennis ball or something. I wouldn't believe all these pictures because some of them are obviously advertisement material, but on the whole they build a very convincing case of Shaq's fingers being longer than Valuev's. Shaq and Dwight Howard are almost embracing the ball with their fingers. It really is crazy. All that means is that Valuev's hands are by no means big for a man his size, because these 7-footers make his fingers look kind of short. Aside from hand size, can we just for a moment appreciate just how enormous this man is? The title reads, Boxer Nikolay Valuev is taller seated than most men standing. And there is some truth to that, but it isn't true all the way. Yes, he looks normal compared to these men when he's seated, but he doesn't look taller than them in the slightest. Okay, next. Next is a picture with David Haye. I didn't know the guy, but I read the headline. So first we must learn how tall David Haye is. What? 1 meter 91? What? 9 meter 91 centimeters. This is like 7'3". So this guy, compared to that guy, he looked like the short guy just a second ago, and now I've got a brand new perspective. Oh man. Anyway, that aside, you probably know what I'm thinking already. These hands look pretty small in size, and Valuev is one head taller. He's got more meat on his hands. But other than that, David Haye's hand, I would say, is pretty big. We can't say the same for Valuev if a guy this tall has the same hands as him. This is them in the ring. It's like Haye is chopping down a tree. What's also funny is that Valuev is going for the high block, like someone can never reach the top of that tower. And sure enough, a wall ball is incoming. That punch is definitely going below the belt. But anyways, very funny. What do you guys think about these comparisons? I'm having a whale of a time, although my employer would probably have something to say about that. But if you guys enjoy these humoristic comparisons, spare no effort letting me know that down in the comments section. It's also a worthwhile idea to see some pictures of Valuev shaking hands with normal people. Like this one. Looks like the big man has got a government job after the end of his prolific career. Well, he's also comfortably engulfing the hand of the other guy, aka normal guy. This point goes to Valuev. Next is a picture with a referee who's holding his wrist in the air. I don't know if it's just me thinking that or their hands are actually pretty similar in size. Again, a smaller guy with hands as big as Valuev's. And that's one more point for the away team, meaning not Valuev. Alrighty, let's come down to a conclusion about Nikolay Valuev's hand size. From what we saw, I can definitely say that he has big hands, but not big enough compared to other men his size. Meanwhile, there are other men much shorter than him that have similarly big hands. I would say that Denis Cyplenkov is one of them. The other one is David Haye, no doubt. It's also a worthwhile idea to see some pictures of It's also a worthwhile idea. Humoristic comparisons. Spare no effort letting me know. What do you guys think about these comparisons? I'm having what do you guys think? I can't stop these birds from chirping.